This is welcome to Prophets of Babel with your host Janine. Welcome back. We are reading the Chronicles of the Children of Araneck today. Now we are in the book of Semiasnas. Semiasnas, chapter 1. I'm gonna pause because I can do. Now I, Araneck, returned to the history of my people. When the people of Araneck and the people of Ridnan had made an end of their violence and their wars and their slaving, they came together as one people, looking for forgiveness. They came together and gathered at the great temple on the plains of Shinon and within its walls, and they spoke with one voice, and they said to one another that the fighting and the bloodshed must stop forever, and there must be peace once again upon the land. Now there arose in the land at this time a prophet who was anointed in his calling by God while the war was ongoing, and he acted as the prophet of the people of Araneck, had long gone the way of all men and returned to the ground from whence he came, and his spirit now filled the heavens in the court of God. Now the new prophet was called of God, and he was a descendant of Araneck, even the same Araneck that led the people to the land and was told that he would not taste death. Behold, his name was Semiasnas, and he was the great man, for he loved the people, and he loved the Lord, and he loved the welfare of his fellow man above all else. And because he had not picked up the sword or the bow or the spear or any other weapon of war to fight in the great war, he had no blood upon his hands. For he had cried peace unto the people, and it was his example that inspired Araneck to give his speech to the armies, and because of this the people loved him for it. Semiasnas stood in the midst of the great council chamber, and he said with a loud voice, so that all could hear him, saying, I am the prophet ordained and anointed by God. Behold, I say unto you that I have not suffered that any of you should be confined in dungeons, nor that any of you should have been slaves, nor have I taken life by way of murder or plunder, neither have I stolen or committed adultery, nor have I suffered that you should commit any wickedness. But behold, I have taught you that you should keep all the commandments of the Lord and do all things that he has commanded of you. Now I say that I, with the aid of God, will solve the problems of all our people. I command you in the name of the Almighty to cry repentance unto him, as has been asked of you many times by many great people. Ask him now in this great temple for forgiveness for the evil that you have done, and he will again bless our people. And the captains of the armies and the slavers and the prison guards all fell and wept, for they knew they had blood on their hands, and they cried unto Semiasnas, and asked him to ask the Almighty if he might forgive them of the things they had done. And Semiasnas cried unto the Almighty, and asked the Lord to forgive the people. And at this time the Spirit of the Lord fell upon him, and it moved him, and he knew that the Lord was satisfied and had forgiven the people of their sins. But the Lord had a warning that he wished Semiasnas to give to the people, and he caused Semiasnas to speak. And he warned the people that if they strayed from the path of righteousness and picked up the sword in anger, that the Lord would smite the people. Behold, he warned them that if they continued to hate one another, that the day would come, the people would no longer exist upon this land. After the people heard these words, they were overcome with sorrow, and their hearts became heavy, and they all cried with one voice, saying, O Lord, forgive our transgressions. Forgive us for the sake of our children. Interesting little short book in there, because now we're moving to another book. It's amazing to me that the Lord just promptly forgives. I've heard in other writings and books that the Lord frankly forgives, and I believe that. These people had sincere hearts, and I think the Lord doesn't like to hold us wallowing in our sorrows. Sometimes we've been through enough, and he frankly forgives so that we can turn that page and start a new chapter. So thanks for listening to the book of Zionek and the book of Semiasnas, and we will go on to the book of Rainon next time. Thanks for listening and joining me on the Prophets of Babel with the book of the Chronicles of the Children of Araneck. Thanks so much. Have a great rest of your day.